Hello, it's me again, and once again I am cleaning the family crockery. So today I am doing an impromptu video, so I haven't dressed for the occasion, just wearing my grungy outfit, and that'll have to do. So this is the kitchen, panning right around, and I have my my china display and my glass display, all of which have some significance, as you would no doubt realise, being me. And I've already started emptying the glass cupboard. So at least once a year, preferably twice, but usually it's only once, I have to clean all this cabinet, because as you can see, it's not over it's in a very inconvenient spot right over the stove, so it accumulates grease, even though I have a fan from cooking. And I did wonder when we put this kitchen in whether that would be a problem, but the people who sold me the cupboards, of course, said no problem, because it's sitting nicely over the stove with a fan. But they obviously didn't have these cupboards in their own kitchens. So for your reference and future knowledge, it's not great having china and porcelain cabinets over a stove. Yeah, so I've emptied this cabinet, and I have to take out all the glass shelves individually and clean them. And clean the windows and clean the top of the cabinet that is very grungy. And these are my pieces that I will show you as I wash them and clean them. Some of them are very beautiful, very ancient, very old china, I think, from Japan, I imagine, or maybe Chinese. But these, many of these things belong to my great-great-grandmother, my Scottish great-great-grandmother, Mary Ingalls, who married James Stuart Johnston, my great-great-grandfather, who we will hear more about, no doubt. And apparently Mary Ingalls had a lot of this porcelain. I have these remnant pieces from my grandmother's collection. These ones and these ones that I'm assuming came from Mary Ingalls, but who knows really. And these are actually Staffordshire, which is, oh no, I'm sorry, they're not Staffordshire, they're Royal, what does that say? I can't see. Royal Albert? Royal
Albert Crown China, England.
Yeah, Royal Albert, I love that. So if anybody knows of any of this china, if they have any pieces themselves that they want to find a home for, I could do with a few more of that one, because they're dwindling. And this is actually Staffordshire. So this is called Chelsea Bird, this design. It comes in many different colours actually. Comes with, one can get it in a sort of a burgundy base colour, or one can get it in a gold, a yellow base colour, the same colour as your phone cover, Pete. But we're lucky and we've got the green one, which I love, but it's also hard to find replacement pieces for. So once again, if anybody knows of any anywhere, I'd be happy to hear from them, because basically they get broken every now and then I put them aside for mosaics, which I never make. This is a very pretty little bowl, you can see in the same set. Beautiful. And this is the Chelsea Bird. And here we have another Chinese or Japanese antique, which is actually very, very special. So you might be able to zoom in. I need to clean it, but you see the little insects, little beetles and bugs and beautiful butterflies, birds. Look at this beautiful bird, which is exactly the same as this beautiful bird. Can you see that? Obviously hand painted. It's very, very beautiful. It's not just a transfer. Butterflies and the little family scene. Beetles. So that goes with that. And then I do have some other little bits. So this was my mother's, in my mother's collection. I mean, it came from my great-great-grandmother, probably. And it's actually, I've forgotten. It might be Meissen china. I'd have to look it up. It unfortunately doesn't have a matching saucer, but I think that's beautiful. I think that's actually hand painted. And another little one that goes with that set. And this is a beautiful old Chinese or Japanese teapot, and hand painted, and inside it's got some notes from me, but also a tea strainer. So you put the tea in there and then you put it in the teapot, but it has been broken at some point. Where was the breakage? Anyway, I don't think it's that valuable because it's been broken, but who knows. And oh, there it is. That's where it was broken. But this came from my mother's cousin Knut, who lived in Denmark. Knut and Bibi, his second wife, who we were very close to, my mother and I and our family in general. He gave me this beautiful teapot once when I was visiting. And I just love it. Actually, so this note was inside. I wrote this note. So it was obviously my mother's cousin Knut's aunt who gave him this teapot, and she's written down the bottom, 1958. Tante Olga was quite a character. I liked her a lot. This is what I've written. She ended up living in a nursing home called Johannesgården, which I worked at for a while in Copenhagen, actually. In 1986, Knut helped me to get the job. During this time, I got very close to Knut and his second wife, Bibi, and spent lots of time in their home. And she has written, summer 1958, I tried to have tea in this. The lid is mended. It could not hold the fluid. Got it repaired at Mrs. Reul. Picked it up 8th of September 1958. Olga Norrup. So only for decoration, old. And I wrote this in 2014. She was, oh yes, I said that, she was quite a character. And she was the sister of my grandfather, Einar, my mother's real father, I've mentioned in previous videos, who she didn't actually know. My mother's real father. She didn't know him as her father until she was a teenager. So she was brought up by another man who was her father to all intents and purposes, and our grandfather. So when I say her real father, I mean the father she discovered later on was her real father, because her mother had been married previously, and his name was Einar, and it was his sister Olga who owned this teapot and gave it to Knut, and then Knut and Bibi gave it to me. So that's very precious. Now I've mixed up the whole order because I had them in order of shelves. So I'm just washing all the shelving individually because, as I mentioned, it gets greasy over the period of a year. Probably should be doing a lot more often. So the shelf comes from here. I've got glass shelves in here. So I take them all out, clean the windows, clean the top of the cabinet, clean underneath the cabinet, and put all the china back. First I wash it in hot soapy water with detergent, and then I use the Windex to make sure I get all the grease off, and then it's ready to go back in the cutter. If anyone's in doubt about how to clean glass shelving, I've got it down pat. Have to be very careful not to drop it, obviously. Rolling. Getting all the grease off the sides. Not that it looks particularly greasy, but I can guarantee there is some there. Detail. You still filming? Mm-hmm. I don't want you to stop it. So do you want to repeat what you were just saying, Pete?
That there's grunge videos?
Yeah, my son's here telling me that there is such a thing as a grunge cleaning genre.
Yeah.
Well, I could join that
Yeah.
quite happily
How? Oh,
because I would fit in, because I don't do this very often. You might think I do a lot of cleaning, but in actual fact I don't. In fact I put it off. So I might actually show you the top of the cupboard, although it is embarrassing, because then you'll see the transformation. Now I can't remember which. Why not?
I'm fairly.
Trying to see which way up the bird is. Oh. The bird in the centre. Oh, I think this one should go there actually. I turn this around so we get different views to enjoy. To that beautiful bird. I like that bird. Like I use for watering the plants, if you just want a little quantity. So I do actually use these things. It's not just for decoration. At Christmas we take this out and we put marzipan pieces in it. My mother used to do that actually. We had marzipan at Christmas, at our Danish Christmas Eve, which I should probably share with everybody. And she always had scorched almonds or something. Yummy. Very beautiful china, and I'll just sneak this in here. I've got my little cup there, and my little, it's always difficult knowing what to put with what. For balance, you see, you have to get sort of some balance, and there's obviously a colour palette going on here with the green. The base for that is in the bathroom cupboard. We actually use it for things. And where do I put that? I don't know. I'll put it there. And just to show you that I actually use this crockery here. I have examples of the Staffordshire, what was it called? Chelsea bird. And these ones in here. And we use them. And there's another little variation on the theme. It's also, I think, Royal Dalton, not Royal Albert. Very close, you'd have to agree. But I don't have many pieces of that left. I should have that up there. Why don't I have that up there? I think I'll put it up there. Okay, change that back. So then have a look at the two plates. You can see, I don't know if they were hand painted or whether they were transfers, but the two are actually different. Must have come from a different batch. Can you see those little rosebuds there are sort of smaller and more delicate than those little rosebuds. So that's what you get in that old china. They're not 100% identical. Adds to their charm. So we don't actually use teacups anymore in this day and age. Some people do for high teas, but we don't because we prefer a mug. Second cupboard. This is my blue cupboard. This is my green cupboard, and this is Royal Copenhagen china. So I might need to explain here that I am descended from a Danish mother and a Australian but originally Scottish father. Actually, when I say I should be including my sisters, of course, so I have two sisters, and we are descended from Danes and Scots. But the Scots may well have come from the Danes originally, or the Norwegians, because of the Vikings, and Vikings invaded Scotland. And actually on our DNA, I think my son's done his DNA, there's quite a lot of Norwegian DNA, isn't there, Pete? Mm-hmm. Also because I do actually know that one of my great-great-grandmothers in Denmark was Norwegian, and that's a whole other story that I can tell you another day. But that's why there's this interest, obsession you could say, in things Danish and things Scottish in my home. So washing the Royal Copenhagen china. On the back you see the watermarks. I mean, as in not the water, but the water. That's the sign of Royal Copenhagen china. And each type of item is numbered. So that's blue tack because I had it sitting on the shelf. This one actually, I have to look at it again. Number 1 out of 1,037 pieces, and I think it was 1949 that this was made. This little one is extremely delicate. You can see it's porcelain because you can see the light through it, and it's very, very light and has this beautiful pattern. I'll have to just look that up and see what it's called again. I think that was the artist, IHR, whatever that stands for. Number 1 of 22 in this batch. That's our exhausted corgi out on the porch, very muddy, and she needs a good brush because she's molting. But we've been out on a walk this morning in the forest, which is right next to us, and went for a 5-kilometre walk, and she's tired. This is the little delicate cup that goes with this little plate, and I think when I looked them up, you know, some of this Royal Copenhagen is quite valuable, and I think this was the most valuable. We do live in rural Victoria, and we chose this spot because it was really quite a long way away from any major town, and it has different aspects to it. It's only 80 acres, but it backs onto state forest, and we're on a dirt road, and we're off grid, so we're completely independent power wise, and I can show you the power system one day if you're interested. And we've been off grid for 30 plus years since we moved here, so we learnt a lot putting it up because it was sort of ahead of its time really, and we paid the price because it was a fairly rough system, but we've since learnt a lot of lessons and have put in a new system, so we love it here. We love the peace and quiet. Hello again. I'm checking out these marks on the bottom of the Royal Copenhagen china. So this is on this bowl, beautiful little fruit bowl, and you can see Royal Copenhagen. There's a little line underneath the G, and dots below a selected letter, G, hang on a sec.
Yeah, we got it.
Where is it? G.
1969
to 1973. So that was when it was made. And I think the IHR, each piece of Royal Copenhagen porcelain has a mark on its underside telling its own unique story. The 3 waves, the royal stamp, and the painter's signature, symbolising authenticity, its royal heritage, and handcraftsmanship. So the IHR is the artist, Royal Copenhagen, and the 3 waves, which also means something, which I'll just find out in a minute. I don't know what that stands for, you see.
What is it? 15 something?
I don't know. This is my little historic box that we found when we were sorting, and this is an amazing magnifying glass which opens up like this. It's made from Bakelite, which was the predecessor to plastic. I don't even know what it was made of, Bakelite. And you can either look at it through the middle, you can look through all 3, or you can choose. So I've found that this has helped me in the past. Not helping me right now. Oh, there we go. 1540 something. I don't know what that mark is. But Copenhagen. I don't think there are any mark. Copenhagen. Oh, there's a number. B108437. B1037. B doesn't exist. That's awkward. Because it's got Royal Copenhagen and then it's got the waves underneath it, that it's from 1923 to 1934. It's got none of those dots on the top or the bottom of the Royal Copenhagen. I was just saying to Pete that this lid's even got a mark on it, which meant that when we were sorting all the china together, my sisters and I could see that that was the same number, 1/482 matches 1/482, so it must be the lid for this jug. Obviously isn't Royal Copenhagen China. I found this in a antique shop in Copenhagen, probably in the 80s, maybe, and it's beautiful. It's a, what is it? Is it a Roman goddess, do you think, Pete?
Yeah.
Or a Greek goddess? And it's from the 1920s. She's got a very typical 1920s headdress on, and it's biscuit or biscuit. It's not porcelain or china, as far as I know. It's another form of ceramics altogether. Unfortunately, she was damaged and she lost her arm, but so have many ancient statues and figures from the past. So I just think she's totally beautiful, and I keep her, because she's blue, I keep her in the blue cabinet. It's quite old actually, because it hasn't got the dots on top of or below the letters Royal Copenhagen, so that makes it from the 20s or 30s, 1920s or 30s, and it came from my mother's cousin Knut. Gave this to Mum, and it's got the basket weave pattern, so it's not like a pattern that's painted on like the one around the top here. It's actually formed in the fire, in the clay, the basket weave, and they're a little bit more valuable. When I say valuable, they're not like thousands of dollars or anything, but in Royal Copenhagen China, these are very fine pieces. I forgot to say this is a bread basket. Actually, so I actually bring this out when we use it. Well, all the china I use as much as I can, because I don't think there's much point just having it in the cabinet and never using it. But this is lovely with slices of bread, chunks of bread in it.
No, it's not china.
These are particularly heavy pieces of glass, which we got made specially. So the kitchen cabinetry place didn't provide glass shelves, so I got these specially that can you know, it's more robust, can hold more china. I have to be careful not to drop it. Back again after lunch, exhausted, so I needed a break. So on the back you can see the little 3 waves, the 3 wave symbol, and I've just found out what that means. I mean, I think I did know, but I just wanted to tell you what it means. Since 1775, when the Royal Copenhagen China factory commenced, every piece of porcelain that has left Royal Copenhagen carries its factory marks, 3 waves, the royal crown and the painter's mark. These are symbols of authenticity, the royal connection and the mark of handcraftsmanship. The 3 blue waves symbolised, well, I'll read this bit. When the Dowager Queen Juliane Marie founded the Royal Porcelain Factory in 1775, she insisted that the 3 waves should be the factory's trademark. The waves symbolise Denmark's 3 most important bodies of water, the Sound, the Great Belt, and the Little Belt. To this day, the waves are painted on the back of each piece of porcelain and comprise Royal Copenhagen's well-known signature of authenticity, a mark of fine craftsmanship and Danish porcelain art. So there are those 3 waves. Now if we go back to the other page with the marks, you can just break it there for a minute. So I found the stamps again, and the 3 waves with nothing else, doesn't have the Royal Crown above it, is from 1870 to 1890. Just a stamp in blue under the glaze. So actually this little teacup saucer, which goes with this little saucer, is probably the oldest thing that we have, and I think it may even be either a child's little teacup or a doll's little teacup, because I think it's smaller than what adults would be using. And where's the other one that I showed you before? The delicate little cup and saucer, very delicate. Oh, got cramp in my finger. Is a coffee cup. Not quite as old, but still fairly old, as we saw before, early 1900s, I think. So now we're putting everything back inside the cupboard. This part anyway is clean now. We'll put the little coffee cup there, and a little plate with a little bit of blue tack, because I haven't got all the, well, maybe that's standard. Actually, that belongs, could go in there. Doesn't look quite right. I might have to doctor it a little bit. You can always resort to blue tack if all else fails, because I haven't got enough little plate stands. That can go there, and that can go there in front of it, and then this absolutely beautiful bowl. Once again, that sort of basket, ceramic basket weave, absolutely exquisite, which I think also came from my mother's cousin. We'll go there in the centre, and little teacups. Not too noisy.
YouTube on YouTube.
Back here, there we go. And then this scalloped dish. So pretty. Might have to put it this way up so that we can get the blue tack in the bottom. A little bit there. This one doesn't get used very often, although it used to be a soap container, but I mean, I used to have the soap sitting on it. Actually, these extraordinary things are old-fashioned, and they used to be put down near the stove, I suppose, or on the table, and used implements like spoons or knives or something could be put leaning up on them. That was the idea then. They don't get used, but I have them for quaintness' sake. And that's it. The job done. So I have a lot more to do on this cabinetry, but the first part of it's finished.